Hello, everybody. I'm Pamela Coons at the Wellness Radio TV. So honored to be here at the Actors Warehouse in Gainesville, Florida, with these two incredible gentlemen. The star of the show tonight, E. Stan Richardson, who brought to life three icons in jazz history, and the man who started this theater company, and was the director tonight for this incredible performance. Stephen, thank you, Stephen Butler.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys for staying late. This has been an incredible run. The show sold out. Stan was on the front page of the entertainment section of the Gainesville Sun, above the fold, taken up. I was out of town. I came back home and flipping through my newspaper. I was like, oh my goodness, there's Stan, bigger than life. What has this been like for you all to put together such an incredible piece of work that's gotten this kind of attention and continued to sell out? It ran 3 weekends in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What has that been like for you, directing and coming out of your house?
Well, as far as directing is concerned, it was challenging for me because, well, in my own head, because as an artist, we put ourselves through our own torture. But at the same time, I think the playwright did an absolutely wonderful job in regards to the text that he created, as well as giving stage directions, and then of course I tapped into my own creative nature and just took some liberties with some things here and there just to take it up a notch, and then actually working with Stanley has been quite an honor as well too. One of the things that I realized was that I've been watching Stanley for quite some time, and he's worked with us a couple of times already in previous productions, such as Fences and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, and then after seeing him perform in the Royale over at the Hippodrome,
I know.
It was a great one. I wanted to challenge him to see if he could take it up a notch and see if he'd be willing to do a one-man show, and he said yes, and that's all we needed to hear.
A one-man show, Stanley Richardson, a one-man show, 90 minutes, 3 different characters. How in the world did you do it?
I don't know.
I watched, and I know who you are, but I watched, and each character, you really brought each character to life. I really felt like I was hearing from Louis Armstrong, his manager, and then Miles Davis.
I really can't give you an answer to how I do that. From the audience perspective,
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Perhaps when you're accepting your Oscar, your Tony, and
no, really, I'm
really
exhausted.
phenomenal.
No, really. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And I just, I'm not just gonna say, I'm not gonna say it's easy for me, because it is hard work, but it's fairly natural for me. I think I've been kind of like doing this, impersonating as a kid, watch TV.
Oh.
I've always, that's something I've done in my bedroom growing up, was acting like other people.
Mm.
So that kind of helps, I guess.
So we got an insight. We're sitting here on the stage. This play takes place in Louis Armstrong's dressing room. He's played the Waldorf Astoria in New York. And it's a conversation that you have with the audience. An incredible conversation. And I was sitting in the back and noticing, how people were reacting. It's some pretty intense dialogue about people.
And the play is heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a lightweight play. It's got some, that's what I was drawn to when Stephen gave me the script and I started reading it. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be kind of, get me wrong, I was kind of scared.
Yeah.
I mean, it did, being on the stage alone.
nobody else to give you your cues of your next line.
Right, nothing.
Yeah.
At all. So it was intimidating at first, but once I knew and Stephen, we worked together a few times, but once I get the script, and once I memorize all the dialogue, after that, I can bring the character to life. I can't bring the character to life until I have the words in my body. After that, the characters are fairly easy because one of my favorite pastimes is watching people. I love to watch people. People are interesting people. So all these characters, Louis is an old black man. I mean, been around old black men my entire life. So how they move, how they talk, some things are idiosyncratic to Louis, but some things are just generic to old black men. So and even Joe Glazer, his Jewish manager, that person, that character is, I'm familiar with that person. And of course, Miles is just the radical brother on the street corner somewhere. Miles is, I've always watched Miles. Miles is like one of the coolest men on the planet,
And was very critical.
Oh,
of Louis
yeah,
Armstrong.
yeah.
And what was also very interesting for me in this play was really getting into the head of Louis Armstrong and how he felt about how people felt about him.
Oh, yeah.
How he
Yeah.
felt that black people felt about him, yet he still had to go on stage and do his thing to the group that would come to see him, and it was white people.
Right.
It's not necessary that the group that would come to see him.
Well, he was playing at places where
Well,
black people couldn't
for
go.
me, this is a prime example of what happens to organic black creativity in our colonial environment. What we create organically, like jazz, that was this art form that was in New Orleans and everything. Even you can go to hip hop the same way. What we create organically, oftentimes it has a social aspect to it, and we find that a lot of times how important music is to black social justice struggle and everything, how important music is to that. So what I'm saying is a lot of times what we create is not destroyed, but whether it's fixed in a colonial or commercial form and then given back. And that's primarily what happened to Lewis's music. His manager didn't like jazz in a way that free expression of jazz, and told him to cut back on the high notes. There wasn't any money in it. So he basically told Louis, crafted him and packaged him for a particular segment of the population, white, rich, fairly rich people, and he was a success. I mean, but his crowds, when he played, they were just filled with nothing but white people, because that's what he was marketed to. That's what he was molded, packaged to for his product to appeal
Right.
to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But during his lifetime, many times playing at venues where he could not have been a part of the audience, nor would he have been able to stay there. So there were black people who would not have even been able to come.
This is true. You're right. They would not have been able to come, but even in where this play opens up, it's in 1971. So of course, segregation is quote a thing of the past, so to speak. But black audiences do have an opportunity to come and see him, but they have since moved on. And I think to kind of piggyback on what Stan was saying earlier, as far as the free expression of jazz has evolves. It continues to evolve, and I think that part of the reason why Louis may not have necessarily been able to capture the black audience, because he does mention that they are by 1971 they're over at the Vanguard listening to Dizzy Gillespie and Miles Davis and other black Coltrane,
Yeah.
exactly, all these bebop artists. And jazz has evolved, and unfortunately Louis was stifled and unable to evolve because he had been, like Stan said, he had been packaged to reach a broader audience that would actually pay for it, pay to hear what they thought was acceptable.
Right, and as jazz was evolving and Louis was not evolving, what you're saying is it's not necessarily any commentary on African Americans as the audience. It's just they were listening to another kind. This is an incredible. This play is a serious historical piece.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And as your audience here tonight, sold out crowd, but I counted 8 Black people, maybe, including me.
You count me?
I did not count you. Okay, 9.
Well,
And I tell you what, I sat there, and as I said, I was watching because it hits hard. I mean, this is in his dressing room, and he's saying, Louis Armstrong is saying some serious stuff about how he's been treated as an African American artist, and I mean, just got really pretty raw.
Yeah. And treated as an African American artist, and he's treated by whites and blacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the tough part.
Whites and black, yet he still has to go on stage and put that big smile on his face that Black people have called some of his contemporaries. Miles said he was being an Uncle Tom with that big grin on his face.
Yeah, Jim Crow on a stick.
Jim Crow on a stick.
Yeah,
Wow.
That was heavy.
But that big smile was his trademark.
Yeah.
Yet it was the thing.
With the bug eyes, and it was like vaudeville again.
Yeah.
And basically, and that's the time he came up. It's a generational thing too.
Yeah,
There's a big
absolutely.
generational gap.
Yeah.
And so Lewis came along. When was he born?
1901.
1901. Yeah. So I mean,
He started performing in 1920.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
a different kind of era. What he's used to.
Yeah.
What he's familiar with. That came along doing blackface and vaudeville and
And he was just, the brother was doing what he had to do.
yeah, and I mean, I think genuinely, I think he was a really, really nice, generous, loving, optimistic person. And I think just he had a really wonderful heart. I think he just couldn't really understand what was going on because the world is changing. It's like, I mean, during this time, you got the civil rights movement, you got Black Power, you got the Black Panthers, you got protests. A lot is happening. It was right during in '70. I think even here, I don't think schools integrated here in this county until like '70 or '71. So
I didn't know he smoked weed.
oh yeah, he was a big weed smoker.
I didn't realize that.
I thought you were talking about me.
No.
I don't smoke weed.
No, yeah.
No. Your character.
Oh, you talking about?
Yeah, your character. Yeah.
Oh, he was a big weed smoker.
Yeah.
He was a big.
There's an incident, I think, where actually Nixon, it's reported that Nixon actually, not knowing that he did, basically transported some weed for Louis Armstrong because he was getting out for the airport and he was getting ready to go through customs or something, and the president was getting off the Air Force One or whatever, going through, and he saw Louis being like detained or whatever, and said, no, just he can go through with me, and put all of his luggage, everything with the president's luggage, and Nixon just basically was smuggling marijuana for Louis Armstrong, but he didn't know it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So Louis Armstrong, born in New Orleans, in a city known for considered the birthplace of jazz, but he was treated so poorly there. Is it accurate? Am I remembering correctly that Louis never returned to New Orleans? Is that a part of your understanding?
I don't know. I can't say that. I mean, when you say he was treated poorly there, what do you mean?
Because of the racism
Oh, okay.
that he dealt with.
I mean, this is America. This is America. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
This is America.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
And then he never
Chicago
returned.
or New York
Right,
or
exactly,
whatever.
exactly.
Right.
Like he said, he played in 99 million hotels. He couldn't stay in it, and that was up north.
Up north.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, so this is America. It was America. It's an American thing. I mean, down south, I think down south is people are more honest about their racism down south. I think, and with that being said, there may be signs up that say, no color allowed or whatever, but at least they're honest.
Well, I think it was Dr. King who said Chicago was one of the most segregated cities
Oh,
in
yeah.
America.
Oh,
that
Yeah,
he-
people up north are just,
Well, just to speak to that about Louis and his relationship to his birthplace, I don't think he lost any love for New Orleans, but I do believe that, he did have a new adopted home, which was Chicago, because that's actually where he got his big break. That's when this is, and he was a part of the Great Migration as well, too.
Yeah.
20, I think 22 was when he left.
Yeah, so he's a part of the whole Great Migration, which began, Reconstruction period all the way up to the 1950s. So he was a part of that, and Chicago was actually a huge place for a lot of African Americans that fled the South under the oppressive Jim Crow laws, and and I brought their culture, their culture with them.
Yeah.
Music, cooking, all of
Yeah,
it.
one of the things that fueled,
We are here at Actors Warehouse in Gainesville, Florida, on stage of Satchmo at the Waldorf Astoria, with the actor, the one who played 3 characters in a 90-minute one-man show, E. Stanley Richardson, and the director, Stephen Butler. So honored to be here talking to these guys. The curtain closed tonight for your 3-weekend performance here, but you're taking this show on the road, which
Yes.
is very exciting.
Yes. We are going to be in the beautiful downtown Winter Haven, Florida. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
exciting.
This is going to be at the Ritz Theater. So the Ritz Theater is this 1920s, actually it was built as a 1920s vaudeville theater. Yes,
so
and
right at home.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think at one point it was a movie palace. I think at one point it was a movie palace, but of course, it's back to being just a stage, an open stage now. And so, actually, this is a collaboration between Actors Warehouse and Theater Winter Haven, and we're going to be staging this production at the Ritz Theater.
Did you plan that, or did this evolve after the show started?
It kind of evolved after the show started.
Okay.
Yeah, I was.
It's like, oh, this is good. Somebody else might want to see it. He's actually doing a great job.
Well, actually, what happened was that one of my theater colleagues, Dan Chesnick, he is the executive director of Theater Winter Haven, and the Ritz Theater is one of his projects. And so he's become an event promoter in Winter Haven. And so between Theater Winter Haven, the Ritz Theater, and then also a theater over in the Villages, he has these touring shows that come through. And so he reached out to us and said, hey, do you have something that you think would, you can stage on our, put on our stage? And I said, sure. And so we were already doing this here, and I said, hey, let's do it.
So what do you think about that?
What do I think about it?
Yeah. How exciting is that?
He's scared.
He's scared.
I mean, it's going to be an adventure. I mean, it's going to
Yeah.
be interesting. I mean,
He's
I
scared.
don't know. I mean, I'm always scared.
You are?
I wouldn't say scared, I'd say nervous.
Have little butterflies?
I'm not scared,
Yeah.
I'm just nervous.
Yeah, yeah.
You get this anxiety and stuff. I'm like, especially on a one-man show, like, oh my God.
But you already know the line, so don't worry about it.
it.
No, I mean,
Just
I
keep saying them over.
have to tell myself, Stan, just tell the story, because I start to freak out.
Yeah.
Like by myself, like, oh man, what if I forget everything? What if, and I just have to calm myself
Just-
down and say,
just start-
just tell
yeah,
the story.
yes.
I know the story, just
Yeah.
tell the story.
Tell the story.
And then I don't, and if I forget, you just make up stuff.
Yeah, and this has been your lovely wife, Carol Richardson, so sweet. You've never acted before meeting her, is that correct? I mean, not for real, you probably did.
No,
didn't you?
not for real. Matter of fact, I can't really, what she means to me, I can't really even put it in words.
Okay, go ahead and try.
Oh, we're gonna
Oh,
get sappy.
so
Are we gonna get
sweet.
sappy
No,
here?
no, really. I mean, as far as being, I mean, even calling myself an artist
Mhm.
before I met her was like, I mean, I couldn't even say it. Like, and she would say, no, you are an artist. I'm telling you, you're an artist. Because first of all, I had all this, I write. And I had all this stuff, these notebooks and stuff, and just poems and poetry and just little stories and stuff, and like a box under my bed. And says, you know, you need to do something with this. You got to share this. This is good. So, and we actually met at a commission meeting in the city of Alachua. I was down there, just got this whim to advocate for a children's choir in my city of Alachua. I had this vision of this beautiful children's choir with just different children, all different cultures and colors and ethnicities and stuff in a big choir. Whenever the city had something, this choir, this little children's choir, would represent the city.
Mhm.
Like Gainesville has a youth chorus.
Mhm.
So I wanted my city to do that. So I just got up one day and that was in my head. Went down to the commission meeting to tell the commission about that. Maybe they would write a grant or something. I don't care who does it. I just wanted it to happen. And she was at the meeting talking about children's theater in Alachua. I'm like, children's theater in Alachua? There's no children's theater in Alachua. I never heard of a children's theater in Alachua. So I asked her where was the theater, and so she tried to tell me where it was. And I went looking for it maybe a couple of days later, maybe the next week or whatever, and I couldn't find it. And then I think our next encounter, someone was doing a play. She was doing a play in Alachua, and she had remember meeting me at the commission meeting. What about that guy at the commission meeting? And someone said, "Oh, Stan." I said, "Yeah." So they came by and wanted me to do a play. I'm like, I don't have time. I got more in the yard or something. I ain't got time.
Yeah, you're really busy.
What happened was my daughter's church, she had auditions, and one of my daughters, Tiana, someone from her church had taken her down to audition for the part in the play. And she called me up and was telling me about it. And then they were asking about it. And so my daughter called me and said, "Daddy, it'd be cool, because I'm playing my daughter's father in this play."
Ah.
So she said it would be, I think she was around about 14 then, I think, 13, 14 years old. And it was a chip woman's fortune. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. So
And that was your first one?
That was my first play. And I'm normally,
You're getting out of the shot.
Oh, okay.
But you have done other things, and as you said, you've been acting all of your life. You just never had anybody to structure it and say, do this, do that, because you've been phenomenal in everything that I've seen you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I mean, I need all the direction I can get.
Yeah, and you have a wonderful director here. You guys, I think
normally, let me say, normally my wife is the director, because she's a director also. Normally she directs me.
Okay.
I very rarely venture out and because I'm kind of like, I don't like taking direction sometimes.
How was it?
Tell me
It was
about
difficult?
Difficult.
But it worked.
It worked. Yes, it worked.
He's-
Okay.
no,
Yeah. No, it was.
I'm easy.
It actually wasn't that.
Because I ask him, I like, really, I do like, because I'm like, I have no idea what you were seeing out there. I know what I'm doing, how it feels, but I have no idea what the audience is seeing. So tell me exactly what you need me to do, and that's what I do.
Well, what was really interesting for me is as you're doing your dialogue and you're talking, and then, Louis is drinking, and so you talked about him smoking weed, and you started taking your clothes off. I was like, oh, Lord Jesus. Oh, Lord. How drunk is he?
How drunk is he?
What's going to happen? Lord,
I'm in my dressing room, so naturally I'm going to get changed.
You're in your dressing room, but I wasn't prepared for you to start to take
I started to take it all off.
No, please
For the
don't.
final-
No,
for the-
please
for the-
don't,
For the
please
final
don't,
show.
no.
For the final
For the
show.
final show, I said, let me listen.
Well, speaking of that, actually was one of the things I was talking with Stanley about is that, this whole thing about him taking his clothes off, that was,
Symbolic.
very symbolic. It was equivalent to him basically exposing himself.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're doing. You're an actor, you're on stage, You have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. You're exposing yourself. You're being vulnerable, and to have a one-man act, a one-man show, and you are and Louis telling his story.
Yeah.
He's telling his life story. So that means
And
that
I
he
guess-
has to expose himself. So by him just taking off these clothes, that's once again, it's very symbolic of Louis being vulnerable, exposing himself and saying, here, this is me, this is my life.
And in the dressing room, you know, he uses some language,
Mhm.
and we see people on stage and we forget that they are human
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and that they do use some language.
Yes,
People-
absolutely.
People are people.
Yeah,
People
absolutely.
are people,
Yeah.
and so this whole play takes place in the dressing room, and he's using language that I'd never heard that big smile say.
Right,
And
right.
so part of that was, you know, as I'm watching, going, ooh.
Yeah. Yes, it's because of his image, the image
Because of
that
the image.
the image that has been created from him. He has this wholesome image.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a fascinating look at history.
Well, the cussing came easy for me.
Oh goodness, yes it did.
Yeah.
I
I didn't want to say that, but it was rolling.
I love the language.
It
Yeah,
it flowed very well.
That was
It
the best
not-
part of the show for me.
It was
I
not
get
like
to
you
cuss.
get to cuss up and low.
Yeah.
So this show is going to be Winter Haven. Everybody, thank you all so much for watching. I see your names and your comments popping up on the screen. I really, really appreciate you all watching. Watch, like, and share, and tell this incredible story about this incredible play about Louis Armstrong. And then this guy, every time the light would change, your character would change. And there was at one point where you were going back and forth. It was like, you know, 2 or 3 lines here.
That was it. That was near the end.
Yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
you know what it reminded me of? You know, when you're the 4th of July fireworks show?
Yeah.
You get to the end and it's like boom, 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 boom. Like, oh my
The
goodness.
finale.
The finale, yeah. You did it.
Well, thank you.
You
Thank
worked it.
Thank you.
Yes, you did.
Great
Yes, you
job.
did.
Great
Right.
job,
Thank
both
you.
of you.
And thank you all for the love. Thank you for coming out and supporting this production. Thank you very much. I know Stephen is
Yeah.
very happy.
I'm very happy,
Yeah.
very happy because, you know, this is Actors Warehouse's 7th season. We're going into our 8th season, beginning in September, and we are really beginning to pick up some steam, and people are coming to me and really letting me know how much they appreciate Actors Warehouse being in our community and how valuable it is.
There's some incredible talent
Oh, yeah.
in Gainesville.
Yeah.
And wherever you are, wherever you're watching across the country, across the world, support your local theater. Funding is being cut in some other areas, and they truly operate based on the help and support that they get from people in their communities. And the talent is phenomenal here in Gainesville, and this is just an example. If you did not get to see the show here, go to Winter Haven.
Go to Winter Haven, yes,
Yeah.
July 28th. It's Sunday, July 28th, 2 p.m. But yeah,
The capacity there is,
well, actually the house is about 600, but we probably won't be selling that many tickets. Hopefully we will,
Yeah.
but we're going to shoot for half of that.
And
half the
I'm
house.
not just saying this because it's me, but I mean, to hear what the people were saying to me as they were leaving, I have no idea what the audience sees on stage. I'm just in my particular element, in my zone, just doing my thing, and trying to do it well. But what I've been getting is, this is like the best piece of theater I've ever seen. I've been getting like, this is, you know, this is incredible. So that's what they see. So
It is.
if you want to see
Feel it.
this also, we're going to do it.
Yep, July 28th.
July 28th.
July 28th.
In the Gainesville Sun, they said, Stanley Richardson was born to play Louis Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think when you read that?
I'm kind of hard on myself, you know. I mean, really, I just I was flattered. I mean, they said I gave a brilliant performance.
The picture was great.
Um,
It was a great picture, and then coming to the show tonight,
yeah, and to see all these people
it is
here
a
and
brilliant
get
performance.
a standing ovation. I'm gonna miss this show. I mean, for
Well, you
selfish reasons.
Mind you, should I add a standing ovation every night?
A standing ovation every night.
Yes.
Carol, you're gonna have to do that every time he comes out of the bathroom.
Come into the bedroom myself.
Well, guys, I really appreciate you staying late. I know it's been a long day. You had 2 performances today.
Yes.
So I
I'm gonna sleep
appreciate,
like a baby.
yeah, I appreciate you staying late and break a leg on the 28th.
Thank you.
Thank
Winter
you.
Haven.
Thank
And
you.
maybe you can just take this to some other places. Hattie Lou Theater in Memphis, Tennessee.
Hey.
I know the guy who owns that theater. Maybe we can connect you guys and you can take it there.
All right.
Maybe you could go to New Orleans. You know, in Armstrong Park, there's the Mahalia Jackson Theater that's there. Wouldn't it be great to go there?
Something interesting.
Yeah.
You set it up with your connections.
Set it
Yeah,
up.
yeah. You have your people call my people.
Yeah.
Sounds like a deal.
All
Sounds
right.
like a deal. Now, which one, will that be, what's your manager's name, or you already got a manager?
Joe Glazier.
Joe, I don't wanna be Joe Glazer.
You don't be Joe Glazier?
I wanna be Joe Glazer. Phenomenal show, Satchmo at the Waldorf. If you didn't see it here in Gainesville, try to see it at Winter Haven. It is worth the drive. These guys did a magnificent job, great job directing,
Thank you.
and great job, phenomenal job
Thank you.
on stage, playing 3 characters in a one-man show, 90-minute show, no intermission. You the cat.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Pamela Coombs at the Wellness Radio TV. Remember, there is healing at the well. Please like and share. Good night.